Hey folks, welcome back. In this video, we will be talking about Python function. So let's define the function. Function is a piece of code that performs a specific task. So the function can be reusable and it improves the readability of the code. So let's look at the syntax here. So def is a keyword in Python and followed by function name. After that, we have parameters, parameter 1 and parameter 2, and after that we have a block of code, that is a function block. So that is the simple syntax for it. So we can have a return statement inside a function, or by default it returns a null value. So let's look at the simple example here, that is factorial. So what this function is doing, so it is just calculating the factorial of a given number. So let me copy this and execute it in playground. So I just pasted it. So let me run this file, functions and playground.py. So it did nothing. That's because we defined the function, but we are not using it. So in order to use the function, so we need to call the function. So let me call that, and whatever the value that we are returning, so we need to store that in a result variable. So factorial of 5. So now we have the data that is returned from this function stored in a variable result. So we need to print that result now. So we have a print function to print that. So I just ran this and we can see the result, that is 120. So that's because, so when we pass this, so when we call this function with argument 5, so the number that is assigned with value 5. Now what we are doing, we are created the variable fact to 1, and after that we are iterating through the range of the given number plus 1, that is 1 to number plus 1. So in our case we passed 5. So now it range function generates numbers 1 to 6. 6 will be excluded, so we will be having 1 to 5, and after that we are iterating through each number, and then we are calculating the fact, that is whatever the value that we have in fact into the number that is generated, and then it is returning the factorial. So this is the return statement that returns the function value, whatever the value that we want to return from that function. So now we have that in a result variable here, and then we are printing it. So that's why we are saying 120 as a value. So as we said, we can reuse this function. So let me update the number to 6 here, and let's have one more call and have 7 here. So let's run the code again. Before that, let me clear that out. So now here we can see that we called a factorial function 3 times using different arguments, that is 5, 6 and 7. So that's how we can reuse the function code if required. So that's the simple example to implement the function. So let's talk about the function parameters. So in this code, let me clear this out till this. So in this code, we defined one parameter, that is number. So a Python function can be defined without any parameter. So let's remove this and let's have a new function, that is greet user, and currently we are not passing anything, just return value um, hello user. Okay, let's store the function result in a variable result, and let's print it. Print result, and let's run the function. So now we have the hello user. So for this function we didn't pass any arguments, so we have the still we are able to call that function. So let's try to pass any some data to the as an argument. So now what it say? It's throwing the type error. Greet user takes 0 positional arguments, but 1 was given. So we should not pass any positional arguments to the function whenever it is. I mean, it's not accepting any. So let's modify this to accept two parameters, that is first name and last name. So we can also define one parameter. We already seen that in a factorial. Let's update this to first name and last name. One parameter is first name and other parameter is last name. So we just define, but so we need to use these two parameters inside the function. So let me update this to use these two. I'm just updating the formatting that string with these two variables. So first name and last name. So here we need to pass the first argument as first name. I'm just using my name, and let me clear this out, run it. So here we can see that now we passed two arguments, that is first name and last name. The values are ng and b, and we are returning the result. So here we can see that. So that's how we can use the two parameters with the function. So let's talk about the default values. So let's say user only gave one argument, that is first name, and he didn't pass the last name. So in that case also our function should be able to greet the user. So in order to do that, we need to have a default value for last name. So I'm just defining the empty string for that, and here we are returning first name and last name. So let me just remove this second argument when we calling the function. So still we can get the hello Anji. That's because we are just, so in this case what happened, so the function just used last name as an empty string. So that's why we can see only hello Anji, and here we have an empty string but it's not showing up. So that's how we use the no default values. So let's talk about variable scopes. So in order to understand that, we need to understand the Python scope. So Python has a global scope. Whenever we define function or any variables, so those are stored in global scope. So let's say a equals to 100. So this variable a stored in a global scope. So Python functions has its own local scope. So let me define change value, and doesn't accept any parameters. I'm here, I'm just updating the value a to 200. So let's call the function change value and print value a. So we just save call this function. So ideally what should happen if we didn't have these scopes, so variable a should be updated to 200 value, and then when we use the variable a, then we should get to 200. But let's see what happens. So here we can see that we still get 100 as a value. That's because whatever the variable that we have inside the function, so that is using its own scope. So the function considers a as a new variable and assigning the value to 200. So if we, unless we use the global keyword, it won't gets updated. So that's how we can use the local scope inside the functions. So that is done. Global scope and local scope is done. So return statement. Let's talk about the return statement. So previous examples we have used it, but let's talk about it more. So return a. So whenever we use a return statement, whatever the value that we are returning here, so that gets returned to the caller. So in this case, we are just assigning the result that we get from change value function to result. variable, and then we need to use that variable to print that value. So now we are getting 200. We can also return multiple values from the function. Let's say a comma 1000, and if we run it, we can see 200 comma 1000. So we can return multiple values. Let's say we didn't return anything, we just defined a equals to 200, and we just call the function and printing the result. So now what we got none type. So that's the default value when we didn't have a return statement inside the function. So that's how we use the return statement to return the data from the function. So let's say we have a multiply function, and number one and number two. So now we have number one and number two. Return number one into number two. So okay, we also need to update this function call. That's because we updated the function name. Let's run it. Okay, multiply. Oh yeah, it's saying there is a missing two required positional arguments, that is number one and number two. So we should pass two arguments, that is number one and number two. Let's pass 10 comma 12 and run it again. So now we got 120. So yeah, that's how we just used return statement to return the value. Let's go to, okay, let's talk about star args and star keyword args in function, Python function. So let me just remove all this. Check args. Just return args. Result equals to check args. Let's pass 1 2 3. Okay, so let me clear this out and run it. So it did nothing. Oh yeah, we missed print statement there. So print result. Let's run the code again. So now here what we are doing, so this function is doing, so it is just taking the arguments, and this is star args is a arguments collector. So whenever we use star args, though we didn't define any parameters, so it just stores all the given whatever the arguments that are passed to the function, they will be stored in args variable, and then we can use the arguments from there. So in this case, we are just returning the whatever the args that we received in args variable and just printing it here. So that is 1 2 3. So let's say I define a multiply function here. So I'm just updating this to multiply, and now we have args here. So we just need to multiply all these whatever the numbers that are passed to it. So let's write the code to result equals to 1 for number in args, result equals to result multiplied with number, and just use the return statement to return the result. So now we are returning the result, and here we are passing 1 2 3. So this should multiply all the whatever the numbers that we pass. So here we can say 1 into 2 2 into 3, that is 6. Let me pass 4 as well. So now we need to get multiplication of 1 2 3 and 4. 1 into 2 2 into 3 2 into 3 times 4. So let's run it. So here we can see the 24. So that's how we use the arguments star args inside the functions. So when we use star args, we can also have positional arguments, that is let's say number comma args. So then what happens? The first arguments that we are passing here, that is 1, that gets assigned to parameter number. That is because we have a positional parameter here, so that's why it gets assigned to number. And then remaining, that is 3 2 3 4 will be stored in star args, and they will be multiplied and returned back. Okay, yeah, 2 into 3 6, 6 into 4. Fine. Let me update this to 5. Still we get the same. That's because whatever the number that we have here, that is getting assigned to number. So let's remove that and try it again. So now we can see that it updated to 120. That is 5 into 2 10, 2 into 10 into 3 30, 30 into 4 120. So that's how we use args with the positional arguments as well. Let's talk about that is keyword arguments. Okay, before that, let me update this to use number 1 and number 2 and talk about result equals to number 1 and number 2. So this is the simple example to multiply two numbers. So this time what we do, we don't use positional arguments, we just use keyword arguments. Number 1 equals to 20, number 2 equals to 4. Let me clear this out again and run it. So here what we are doing, yeah, so here we are just taking the two numbers and multiplying it. But what we are doing, we are just using the keyword arguments to um, pass the arguments. So let's say number 2 equals to 20 and number 1 equals to 4. So this time also it works the same. That's because we are using the keyword arguments to specify the key. So number 2, we are defining number 2 and saying assign this value 20 to number 2. But this won't be the case if we use um, what we call um, positional arguments. Yeah. So let's remove this code and let's have a print statement here. Number 1, it is number 1. Let's update this to number 2 and number 2. So let's clear this and run it. So now we can see that the number 1 is correctly assigned to number 1 and number 2 is assigned to number 20. That is how a keyword argument works. So let me remove this number 2 and number 1 and pass these two numbers as positional arguments. So whenever we use positional arguments, so the position of the data that we are passing is very important. So now what happens, 20 gets assigned to number 1 and 4 gets assigned to number 2. Though we change the values here, 20 and 4, it will still be assigned to the first parameter that we define. So let me pass 4 here and let me pass 20. So let's run it again and see. So number 1 is 4 and number 2 is 20. But when we use the keyword arguments, it works perfectly. So that's the advantage of keyword arguments. Though we didn't maintain the order, it will work. So let's talk about star keyword dogs, that is keyword arguments collector. So let's define, okay, before using that, let's pass one more keyword arguments. Number 1 equals to 10, number 2 equals to 20, and number 3 equals to 100. Let's save this and run this again. So now what happened, it did throw an error and it's saying multiply got an unexpected keyword argument, that is number 3. That's because we didn't have the number 3 defined here. But let's add star keyword args. So instead of keyword args, we can use any other name, but it makes more sense because it's a keyword arguments collector. So let's run it again. So this time we don't get any error, but what happened with this number 3? So this number 3 gets assigned to keyword arguments. So let me print that here and run it. So here we can see that we got the keyword arguments, that is a dictionary with key as whatever the value, whatever the key that we passed here, and the value that is assigned here. So let's say we have this multiply function. It takes two numbers, but when user also passes the third number, then we should multiply that third number as well with the result. So in that case, what we can do, just update this to use keyword args dot get. So when we have number 3 argument passed, keyword argument passed, and then we need to update that result with result equals to result into the number, whatever the number that user passed. So we can use this way, and the value gets updated. Let's run it. So now we can see that we passed number 3 as 100, and 10 into 20 into 100, that is 20,000. So that's how we use the keyword arguments. We can also use positional arguments and keyword arguments. We can also use star args as well. We can do something like this as well. So let's say we didn't have this. I just passed 1, 2, and 3, and then number 3 equals to 100. So here what happens, 1 and 2 gets assigned to number 1 and number 2, and the remaining what are the positional arguments that we passed, they get stored into variable args. So let me show you that by using that here. Let me clear this out and run it again. So now here we can see that the first positional arguments assigned to number 1 and second assigned to number 2, and the third positional arguments assigned to stored in args collector. And after that we have a keyword argument that is passed, so that is stored in keyword arg. Let's talk about lambda function. So lambda function is a one-liner function. So it can be used in mostly used in map, filter, and reduce Python functions. So these are Python's inbuilt functions. I think reduce is more to function tools library, but we can talk about map and filter. So let me go to playground, and let's start with default basic lambda function, that is square. So we need to use lambda keyword, and after that we need to pass the argument here. So number, and then number into number. So this is the square. So let's use this lambda function, square of 5. So let's run it. So here we can see that when we pass a square of 5, so we are getting 25. So this is how we can define the lambda function in one liner, and then we can use it. So let's talk about how we can use it with the map and map, filter, and reduce. So let's do that. Let me remove this code, and let me define numbers equals to list of numbers, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So now we have list of numbers. Now we need to find all squares of these given numbers. So let's define squares equals to map of lambda number equals to number into number, and then now we need to map takes one more argument, that is iterables. So in this case it is numbers. It's not a single number, so we just update it. So now we have squares, and then we just need to print the squares. So let me copy that, and So now what we are getting here, so we are getting map object. So either we need to convert the map object to a list, or we just need to iterate through it to print the numbers, I mean the squares. So for I in squares, print I. So when we run it, so we get the numbers. So the other way is we just need to type convert the map to list or tuple, both works. So I'm just, in this case I'm just using the list. So I just saved it, clear this out and run it. So now we can clearly see that we got squares. So we used lambda function with map. So similarly we can also use with filter as well. So in this case we just need to get the number, and if the number is divisible by 2, then we need to return true. Number percentile 2 equals to 0. So what happens this case, so we should filter only numbers which are divisible by 2. So that is 2 and 4. So let me run it. So okay, this is not let's call it as even numbers. Let's update this variable as well in print statement. So when we run it, so we got 2 comma 4. So let's use the same thing for reduce. So reduce, what it does is, so it just takes the number one and accumulator, and it reduces the number back. Let's say we want to multiply all the numbers, then it just updates that. So let's talk about result. Okay, number one comma number two, and we, for this case, we simply need to return number one into number two. Okay, Redis is not different. Looks like this is moved to function rules. Let me import function tools. Function tools dot reduce. Looks like we have error in line number 3. So it is type int object cannot be iterable. So looks like we are not using the function tools reduce correctly. Okay, let me remove list. Maybe it's directly returning the integer. So let's clear this out. Yeah, that's the issue. So the function tools reduce is already returning the integer, and we are trying to convert that to list. So that's the reason it did throw error. So this is how we use the one-liner lambda functions with map, filter, and reduce. So let's talk about problems. That is palindrome check. What is a palindrome? Palindrome is the word, when we reverse it, then also it should be the same word as the original word. For example, um, MADAM, madam. So when we reverse it also, the word will be same. MADAM. If we look at day, so when we reverse it, then YAT. So this is not a palindrome. So this is a simple example for that. So let's start coding. Let's define check palindrome, and it takes a word as a parameter, and then it returns a boolean value true or false. We need to check whether the word is matches with um, word reverse. So we need to reverse the word. So it takes word, and then we need to define word reverse function, which also takes word as a parameter, and then we need to reverse the word. Our word equals to just define empty string, and then each character we need to append to that. So for character in word, and then our word equals to um, character plus our word, and then return our word. So now we define the word reverse function and check palindrome. So we need to test it. Result equals to check palindrome of, let's pass MADAM as first one and then print the result. So let's also check one more word, that is stay, and let's look at the results. So we can see that for the first function call, we got true. That's because when we reverse the word, also then it is the same word. So it is the reverse word and the actual word both are same. So that's why we got true. And for the second case, the reversed word and the actual word both are different. So that's why we did return false in this second case. So if we use conditionals here, so we can easily print whether the it is a palindrome or not. Yeah, let's have one more function for that. Print word palindrome. So it also takes the word, and then if we just need to move this to here, and word if result, and then print palindrome, else print not a palindrome. So we just need to update this, and here we just need to pass um, madam and day. So if we run it, let me clear this out and run it again. Functions playground. So if we look at this, we can see that first one we got palindrome and second one we got not a palindrome. So it's that's how we check for a palindrome using functions. So each function is responsible for um, a single specified functionality. So this is reversing the word, given word, and then this is checking whether the given word is palindrome or not, and this is printing the text whether the palindrome or not. So let's talk about sum of numbers. Define sum of digits, and it accepts a number, and we need to sum the number. I mean each digit in the number. So let's find out the digit first. While number greater than 0. Let's define sum equals to 0 first. So that's because when we add the number to 0, so it gets whatever the value that we have. Like if we are summing it up with minus numbers, I mean negative numbers, we get the negative number, or a positive number, but it's just a mathematical logic. So now what we need to do, we need to update the sum by finding the last digit. So how do we get? We just need to find the remainder of the number with 10. So we get the modulus operation, then we get the remainder. So we need to add that to number sum. Sum equals to sum plus number. So after that we need to divide that with 10. That's because, so whatever the last value that we have, that gets skipped. So now we need to update the number. Number equals to number divided by 10. So it gets a float value by default, so we just need to convert that to integer. So now we have that, and we need to return the sum. So now we have the function defined, so we need to call the function and store that into a result variable. Sum of digits. Oops. We need to pass 1 2 3 4 and print result. oops, we need to have function followed by playground. So now we can see that we got 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4. The sum of digits of that number is 10. So this is how we can simply define a function, and so we can pass any argument to it, either it is 1 2 3 4 or 4 5 6 7 or anything, any number. So we get the sum of the digits of that number. So this way we can um, use a reuse a code for different numbers, and we are improving the code readability by using proper names to the functions. Let's also talk about game rock paper scissors. So this game, what actually does is, so computer guesses one um, either one word, that is rock paper scissors, and user also guesses the I mean gives the word that is rock paper scissors, and based on these two we can verify whether who won the game. So let's implement that. So let's saw that I'm just removing this to code. So we need to play the game. So in order to do that, we need to have a function name, play game. Now we have the function. So we need to have two inputs, that is one is user's input and the second one is computer's input. So let's give user input equals to get user input. So we didn't have this function yet, but we will be defining it. So let's ask user to give the input. um, Choice equals to input, enter um, rock paper, and okay, let me copy the other word. I think I didn't remember the um, you know say, spelling of it. Enter rock paper scissors. So user adds the value. So let's return the choice. So now we have the user choice, and now we need to also have we need to also get computer's choice. Def get computer input. So for this we just need to get the random choice from the rock paper scissors. So we need to use the random module for this. So I'm just importing the random module. Import random. Okay, so now we need to get the choice. Choice equals to random dot choice. We need to pass either a list of choices, rock, paper, and scissors. So now we have that choice and return it. Return choice. So now we have two functions, that is we are getting the input from the um, user and input from computer. So now we need to have a logic to find who is one. So let's have a one more function, get winner. So now we have a user choice and computer choice. So when we need to find the winner, so let's have a condition to check the winner. So let's do if true, return user is winner, else return computer is winner. So we need to have this as a condition. So we need to update this. If the user's choice is the choice equals to um, rock and computer choice equals to scissors, then user wins. Or or excuse me, or user choice is paper, and computer's choice is rock, then also user wins. And user choice is scissors, and computer's choice is paper, so then also user wins. So in these three cases user wins, and if the choice is not one of these, for computer and user choice, and then computer wins. So now we have the game ready. We need to okay, so when we call the play game, we are getting the user's input, but we also need to get computer's input. Computer input equals to get computer input. So now we have this computer input and user input. We need to call this function to find the winner. So winner equals to get winner of user choice, that is user input, and computer's choice, that is computer input. So now we have the winner. We just need to return winner. So here we just need to print play game and call it Python playground. It's not playground, functions playground. So when we run this game, so it's asking to enter rock paper scissors. Let me enter rock. So user is the winner. Let me enter one more time. This time let me enter paper. Computer is the winner. Let me enter paper again. Computer is the winner. Let me enter scissors. Computer is the winner. Let me enter rock again. User is the winner. So this way we can play the write the code for what is that, rock paper scissors. So here we can see that we have a function to get the user's input. We just break down the problem into simpler pieces of code as other functions, and we are solving the each function solves a different problem. So this gets the user's input and this gets the computer's input. So this is the deciding who is the winner, the function get winner. And then the play game is just getting the user's input and computer's input and finding the winner and returning the winner back. And here we are just printing the winner, getting the result back and printing the winner. So this is how we can break down the problem into simpler pieces of code, that is functions, and solve it. So this way we can use all function concepts and solve the real world problems using Python programming. So yeah, that's all about the Python functions. So if you find this information is useful, then hit the like button, share this video, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.